Hey, what's going on, peeps? It's not your average Josh back here for another movie review, and today I'm here to review the new horror film Evil Dead Rise, written and directed by Lee Cronin. But before I get into my review, I do want to say if you're watching this, hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Also, leave a comment if you have any thoughts on this movie or just anything you want to put down. That is very much appreciated. Also, hit that subscribe button if this is your first time watching any of my videos, or if you're a returning viewer as well. Any support for this channel is very much appreciated. You can also follow me on TikTok and add me on Snapchat, where I will post content similar to this, but for the most part, my content will be here on this YouTube channel, Not Your Average Josh. So again, I appreciate all the support, but let's go ahead and get into this review of Evil Dead Rise. This next installment into the classic franchise is a twisted tale of two estranged sisters whose reunion is cut short by the rise of flesh-possessing demons, thrusting them into a primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable. And that was a very epic description for this movie and is very much warranted. I had a blast with this movie. I've never been the biggest Evil Dead franchise fan, but I will say the Evil Dead movies and the Scream movies, as far as horror franchises, are some of the most consistent that come along. I don't think there's a bad movie of the bunch of them. I still have not seen, though, and I know I'm going to probably get a lot of shit for this, the 2013 Evil Dead movie. I have not seen that movie. A lot of people really enjoying this movie, but still saying that the 2013 one is scarier than this. And I thought this was definitely terrifying at times, this movie. There's just some terrifying imagery in this movie. Just the situations that the characters get into in this movie is very just awesome and glorious if you're a horror fan, but also very just frightening imagining being in the situation. Did everything that I think you want an Evil Dead movie to do if you're a fan. I've always been more impartial to the second Evil Dead movie. I really enjoy all three of the first films, including, of course, Army of Darkness, where it goes complete full-on camp with that, whereas the second one still has that seriousness involved. I do want to go back and see the 2013 Evil Dead movie. I do plan to do that very soon here, hopefully with my friends. They have seen it and I have not yet. Really interested. Just some of the images I've seen from that definitely looks pretty terrifying. In terms of this movie, you do start out with this family in California living in a worn down apartment building that's actually being torn down in about a month. They're having to move out of here. And of course, with that, you're immediately already getting those kind of ghostly haunted vibes. Any old or starting to get run down building, you know some shit could go down. And then of course, an earthquake takes place near the beginning of this movie that opens up the ground near where the parking garage is, and that's where the story really heats up. If I do have an issue with this movie, it's more of an issue I have with most horror films. You have one specific character in this movie, Danny, played by Morgan Davies, who, of course, does the stupid character thing that, of course, is going to propel the plot along, because if no one did this, then they probably wouldn't get involved in the situation that they're involved in, but he ends up going down this hole that opens up, which, I mean, let's be honest, most people would probably not do this shit. If you have any type of brains in your head, yeah, me and my friend were watching this, and I was saying to him as this was going on, he was looking down the hole, and I said to him, I was like, you know what, I probably would look into the hole, because he's still a younger kid, and, you know, I'd probably look in, it'd be interesting, but the minute I see some creepy shit down there, and it's a dark-ass hole, I don't give a fuck, man. I'm not going down that fucking hole, so in terms of that, I don't know. I just kind of feel like 9 out of 10 people probably aren't going to do that stupid ass shit. But unfortunately, this character, Danny, does that. And he ends up finding a book, of course, the evil ass book, and brings it back up to his room, ends up opening it, and crazy shit ends up ensuing. And I will just say, the runtime with this movie I thought was fucking perfect. Like, all the carnage that ensues with this movie, all the blood, the terrifying chase sequences, the special effects, and everything that is involved in this movie, I thought it was all wrapped up in such a nice, neat time that I really just had a blast with this. Like, I would definitely love to go see this movie again in the theaters. It just felt very tight, very concise, and it told the story it needed to tell in the time it needed to. Never felt like it was dragging along or anything. I think that might be the best aspect of this movie for me. As I mentioned, the sound effects mixed with just the visual special effects were brilliant in this movie. Like, it was everything you'd want from an Evil Dead movie, like the blood and the gore. I do think the kills probably could have been a little more creative, I guess, overall, but for me, honestly, as long as you got that gore and that true horrifying nature that the Evil Dead franchise can bring, I thought it delivered that for me, and that's all I really needed. I didn't necessarily need any crazy, crazy kills. They brought the blood and the gruesomeness, and that's all it needed. And then just this whole idea, which has always made the Evil Dead franchise is a little different than like your average haunting or possession type movies. It always had that little difference. The way the demon attacks you, it just feels so very different with the crazy shit going down where the mom, you have this elevator sequence of her just being trapped and being contorted and her bones just cracking, and just again the sound effects used in this, just when the mom comes back into the apartment building and just her cooking the eggs or and whatever food on the damn stovetop, her when she's in the bathroom and the nails, like there's just so many creepy just sounds in this movie that just makes your skin crawl. And I thought they just did a very good job in terms of visual representation and sound design of making this just, you feel the atmosphere of this movie, of them being trapped on this floor, not being able to get out, with the elevator being fucked up and then the earthquake messing up their stairs. This movie did a good job of really giving you that contained claustrophobic feel because they're all trapped on this one floor. You can only go to the other rooms on this one floor. I thought it was a really cool concept with an Evil Dead movie. A great idea of still making it feel contained by having them stuck on this floor. And there are some kills that are very just brutal, like visually and just, again, sound effects that use so well in this movie. There's a beginning sequence of this movie that really sets the table for what this movie is and really brings up the title in this like ominous, like glorious way at the same time. Just like, oh, like you're about to be in for some devilish shit. And then just the last sequence you get with this movie, when you're down to the last two people, I'm not going to spoil it if you have not seen this movie yet, you get a great final girl here that I did not expect. Honestly, as the movie was going on, I really wasn't thinking that there was going to be a final girl scenario here, but you get a great scene that is just bloody and fucking awesome. The acting was very well done. Alyssa Sutherland as the mom, I thought just as soon as she was on the screen, she had this kind of creepy vibe about her. I think just with like even like subtle with the makeup that they had her in the very beginning of the movie, she's already going through a lot. Her husband left her and her kids within the last couple of months, so she's already almost got this ominous like emotional strain on her mind. And I think the demons, or whatever you want to say, fed on that. Gabrielle E. Coles as Bridget, Morgan Davies I already mentioned as Danny, and Nell Fisher as Cassie as the three main younger kids, Cassie being the youngest. They all did a really good job in this movie. Of course, anytime you have kid actors, you know, there's only a certain amount you can really critique. I feel like Lily Sullivan as Beth, she was definitely the standout. Ends up being her and Cassie at the end of the movie, who are the last ones to be alive. And just really a surprise final girl that I was just not expecting. I should have seen it. I guess she was the character that comes in at the beginning and really has become kind of rather estranged with this family, especially with Ellie, her sister. Wasn't there for her when she was going through what she was going through, losing her husband. And I thought that was a very interesting aspect that they played into. You already had this kind of emotional trauma, emotional clashing going on with this family, and that kind of feeds into, you know, this demonic possession, and then that takes over the mom and then tries to take the whole family here. And I just thought that was a really cool concept of having that play with the actual events that are taking place that they have to deal with. You have this emotional side with just the physical terror of what is coming at them in this movie. It just plays as a very nice, scary hour and a half that you're gonna have with this movie. I thought the way they connect the beginning of this movie, the opening sequence, there's characters that are involved that aren't directly related to any of the main characters, and they tie it into the end of this movie as well in a very nice way that, sometimes it'll happen in movies or TV shows or whatever. You're like, oh, that was just very convenient. Was that their plan the whole time? This felt like it was their plan the whole time. Like it felt very nice, a nice opening and then conclusion. And then the story we get with our main characters in this, I thought that had a very crazy, chaotic, again, just blood-fueled ride that concludes in a very nice way. And yeah, I really like where the Evil Dead franchise has gone from the beginning to where it is now. A lot of franchises, they try to oversaturate and come out with movies every year or two. They've really separated the movies enough to where I think it still feels fresh, the idea of Evil Dead. And it seems like they really only make these movies when they have a good idea in mind. And I say keep up with that. But that's my main thoughts. I'm going to give Evil Dead Rise an 8.5 out of 10. Really fun blast of a movie. If you still haven't seen it, I would definitely go check it out in the theaters. This is definitely a fun one to see. But what do you guys think? Have you seen this movie at all? Do you not care to see it? Are you a huge horror fan? What is your favorite horror franchise? Leave it below. What is your favorite Evil Dead movie? I would be definitely be interested to see that. I know a lot of people have their own rankings for that. If you did enjoy this video, leave a like. If this is your first time watching any of my videos, hit that subscribe button as well. Or if you're a returning viewer, any support for this channel is very much appreciated. You can also follow me on TikTok and add me on Snapchat, where I will post content similar to this. But for the most part, my content will be here on this YouTube channel, Not Your Average Josh. If you're looking for more videos very soon, I will talk to you guys later.